It's the Kyle Hyman Show on Redeemer Radio.
This is Kyle Hyman here with Andrea Serrani, and joining us for our game is our good friend Bill Schmitt. Thanks for being here, Bill.
My pleasure, Kyle. Always good to talk with you. Today, let's play the game of earlier or later. Some might say it's reminiscent of it's reminiscent of the higher or lower game from The Price is Right, which of course I always took off from school to watch. But we're definitely, I promise, talking about facts much more important than the price of rice-a-roni. This game is inspired by the fact that it's a new year and we're all thinking about time.
Okay.
And I thought we could think about some notable years in church history. So here's the plan. I'll give you a historical event, but the wrong date to go with it.
Okay.
You folks have to tell me if the actual year came before or after, earlier or later than the date I gave you.
Okay.
All right, but you don't have to give me the actual year. Just
the actual date is before or after the fake date, not the
Correct.
fake date. Okay.
Correct. For instance, a sample question would be Pope Francis began his papacy in the year 2016. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Oh, earlier.
Yeah, the actual date was earlier.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, 2013.
I got it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Question one.
Let's go.
All right. The Roman Emperor Constantine converted to Christianity and legalized the Catholic Church in the Roman Empire in the year 362 A.D. Was the actual date earlier or later?
I would think the actual date was later.
I think earlier.
Andrea gets it right. It was in or about 312.
I knew it was in the
312 or
300s.
313.
Yeah, but I wasn't
right?
sure when, but yeah.
Fair enough. Question two. The Church's first ecumenical council, the Council of Nicaea, was convened in the year 318 A.D. Was the actual date earlier or later?
I say later.
I would think later also.
You are both correct. All right.
This is hard. We
Question
only
three.
have one sound effect for both of us if we guess different.
That's okay.
We'll just go with, as long as one of us gets it right.
Yeah, we're in
it's
this.
right.
We're in this
That's
together.
right.
We should just split on all of them.
Martin Luther, the monk, is believed to have posted his 95 Theses on the church doors in Wittenberg, Germany, thereby starting the Protestant Reformation in 1495. Was the actual date earlier or later?
They just had the 500th anniversary.
So later.
Later, correct. Very good reasoning. It was 1517.
Yes.
Okay.
John Carroll, a priest and the son of a prominent Maryland family, was appointed the first bishop in the United States in 1815. Was the actual date earlier or later?
That seems really late. I would have thought it would have been way earlier than that.
I think earlier.
You folks are good.
Yeah, the
yes,
Diocese of Fort Wayne South
1789.
Bend even existed in the 1800s. So.
Indeed, right.
Yeah.
Yes. Question 5. Pope John the 23rd officially opened the Second Vatican Council in 1965. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Earlier than 1965.
I
Andrea,
think
yeah?
earlier.
You're both right. 1962. It ended in 1965.
Right.
Okay.
Now, here's an interesting one. The so-called Year of Three Popes, at least the most recent of such years, I guess, given the Avignon papacy of past or whatever. The Year of Three Popes, during which Pope Paul VI, Pope John Paul I, and Pope John Paul II reigned consecutively, took place in the year 1975. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Later.
Correct, 1978.
Yeah.
All right. Pope Paul VI issued the landmark encyclical Humanae Vitae in 1972. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Earlier.
Earlier, yeah.
Correct, 1968. Wow, you are really good today.
A lot of
Oh,
these
my
have been
goodness.
having anniversaries lately. That's how we know.
Well, I think you've had more coffee than I have. That's the bottom line.
It could be.
So let's see. A few more questions. The Battle of Lepanto, in which the Holy League defeated the naval fleet of the Ottoman Empire after Pope Pius V called upon all Catholics to pray the Rosary, asking Mary to intercede for victory. That battle took place in 1539. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Well, this is where we get the Feast of the Rosary. For those of you playing along at home while I stall to decide whether I think it's earlier or later. I think
I have no idea.
earlier.
I'll go with that.
Okay. No, it's 1571.
Oh, man.
1571.
1571.
All
All
right.
right. Here's question 9. Now we're getting a little bit more contemporary. Mother Teresa was canonized in St. Peter's Square
Oh.
in 2011. Was the actual date earlier or later?
Later.
Oh, I did. Oh,
I'll agree with later.
good move. Later, it's actually only 2016.
Yeah.
It seems like longer.
That's how we
But
had a
yeah,
radio
she was
show then.
canonized.
That's how I knew.
Oh.
Indeed, fair enough. And the last question, St. Francis of Assisi was canonized a saint in 1305. Was the actual date earlier or later?
I just randomly guess earlier.
I'm gonna
It
say
seems like
say later.
it took a long
I
time.
have no idea.
Okay. Well, Kyle is right on that one. It's 1228, and what's interesting is that it was just 2 years after his death. Francis lived from 1181 to 1226, and the Pope knew him, and he canonized Francis in 1228.
Very good.
2 years after his death.
All right.
But boy, you folks know your history. I salute you.
Well, thank you, Bill. It was a lot of fun.
It was a fun on my part, too.
Have a great day.